Aloha, it's Debbie Zimmerman. Thanks so much for watching our video today. I have a very special guest with my new friend Rebecca from Utah, and today we're going to talk about learning disabilities. We're going to talk a little bit about mental wellness, and I think you're going to get a lot of new insight. I know I have just by having some brief conversations with Rebecca prior to this interview. But Rebecca, do you want to start by talking about your daughter first and some of the struggles that you have with learning disabilities with her?
Debbie, my daughter Adeline is 15 years old, and when she was in first grade, we started noticing that some things weren't lining up. She had a very difficult time even just learning the alphabet and the sounds of letters, and she really couldn't put them together. And what we discovered was that she has ADD and a processing speed disorder and short-term memory. And when you're learning in school, can you imagine if you can't remember anything that's in your short term, and then you can't connect the dots from A to B? It just took her such a long amount of time, and so it was very, very challenging. And we didn't know what to do with that. But what it meant was that when she learns, it just takes her a lot of repetition, like we're talking 200 times sometimes, to actually learn something. And we learned to break it in very small chunks, and then she would learn that one really perfectly. And then we learned to add on another chunk, learn another chunk, and then to go back and to connect them. And this is what we've been doing, is she's been working on this and working really hard, but feeling discouraged. And then as she hit junior high school, she began to feel sad because the social pressure. She didn't want other kids to think that she was dumb, or because her brain was wired a little differently. And so Amari has been a perfect tool to help us with that, as she really began experimenting with it a lot last year, especially in the winter and moving into spring. She's 9th grade, and she wanted to have good grades for high school, right? She wants to be like everybody else and go to college, and she's actually doing remarkably well. So well, actually, on the Amari, that they've recently moved her from an IEP, which is an individualized education plan, to a 504, which says, hey, you're doing good. You still need accommodations. Like she needs extra time to take tests. She can remember the information now and retain it and put it together. And so we're super grateful for that. And then just emotionally as a teenager, she's been finding so much help in the Amari products as she's doing that. So much so that this summer she was working at a scout camp with her brother, which is great. And she had a week where she didn't take anything. It was just busy. They were just getting in the swing of things. And she came home and she said, Mom, I had the worst week. And she's like, I really need to take my Amari next week. So she's so cute. So I went and bought a little pill organizer. It's got AM and PM, and she pulls it all out, all the bottles out. She loads it every week, and she is the one who takes it in the morning and the nights because she notices such a big difference. And even as school began again this fall, the first couple days, it was transitioning from the junior high school to the high school. So there was a lot of stress, a lot of pressure on herself, and trying to find friends and all of that. And she had a couple days where she was really struggling. And by the end of the week, she was smiling. She had found friends. And we said, what's going on? And she's so cute. She came home from lunch. She's like, I took my Amari today. It's amazing. And it's been such a gift because it gives her the ability to be in charge, right? She knows what to do and how to do it. And it makes such a positive difference for her that she chooses in. And it gives her the ability to have success scholastically, have success socially, have success in learning how to love herself. And we're really, really very grateful for that.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting feedback because my own son told me the same thing, that it's a conscious decision if he doesn't take his Amari because he does not feel as well. And it motivates him to be consistent, which is so important. So what is she on the Amari products? Which Amari products does she take?
So she does the fundamentals.
The kids or the adults?
She started with the kids, and now she's recently transitioned to the adults. So she likes that. She does the mood every day. She actually does the sleep at night as well, and loves that. And depending on where she has, what her load is for the day, she'll also do the energy as well. So, and I actually have to go and look, but I'm pretty sure she does the probiotics as well for that gut integrity piece. I can't remember whether she put that in her morning or evening. But she's like I said, what's amazing is she can go to she knows what every product does, and she's gotten to be very intuitive about it. That's such a beautiful gift at 15.
Young age, yes.
Right? And she'll go out and pull out the bottles, and she'll just kind of go with what she needs on a day, but always the fundamentals, the mood, and the sleep. Those are her consistent.
Her go-tos,
Those are her go-tos.
Yeah. Okay, so now I know you've got a son, and he's got some mental illness issues. Yes, do you want to speak to that too?
Yeah. Mental illness is tough. Let's just be honest. And part of that is oftentimes in mental illness you can have they call it comorbidities, where you have more than one thing going on at the same time. And for my son, we always knew that he had ADHD with emphasis on the H. There was holding still was literally the hardest thing to do in the world for him. And what we've recently discovered that there was some autism spectrum hiding behind the ADHD that has actually been really challenging, because it increased the anxiety that he's felt, and it's built and built and built over the years. And then added to that, he had a traumatic brain injury at the age of 12, and unbeknownst to us, we actually have family history where a brain injury was the impetus for mental illness on both my side of the family and my husband's side of the family, and we did not know it. And so that matters, right? That's epigenetics. That's genetics that's passed down, and it did for him. So we first discovered that he had depression and anxiety and was at high risk for suicide, and began a journey. And that's really how we learned about the multifaceted that mental health is multifaceted. It is many pieces. There's no one magic bullet. You need so many things, from nutrition and sleep and breathing, you know, that deep oxygen getting into the brain. And so when we found Amari, it was such a breath of fresh air. We're talking about breathing, because I'd never seen a company who understood that mental health is that that it has all of those components, and that there is no just one thing. And so that's been such a gift, and we began taking the products, and then we discovered recently, over the course of this last several months, that we got to move on a very significant line from kind of the psychology, depression, anxiety world, but over into the psychiatric world. And that's extremely stressful for everybody involved, and it's challenging. And we have been fortunate enough to find practitioners, his psychiatrist, who understands the component of all of the body, right? So she does lab work. She's a holistic psychiatrist. There should be more of those in the world, honestly. I'm so grateful that we found her, and I want everybody to have one. So that's a part of what we're doing in Amari. That's a huge part, I think, because she's able to say, hey, absolutely take the Amari supplements, and then we're adding in several others based upon his particular lab work, so that the medications that he does need at this time can be kept at the lowest doses possible, so that he has the best possible outcome and the most chance to be himself. And we've been able to work with a therapist who can help him navigate, now that we understand that there's this autism piece, because it's such a fascinating thing. And they really actually helped me to understand this, that with the ADD, one of the gifts of that is that you're usually extremely sensitive to the emotions of others, and very sensitive to any of the energy in a room or what somebody else is feeling. But when you layer an autism piece on top of that, what happens is you're sensitive to all those emotions, but you don't know how to interpret it. And so as a young man, he would be sensitive to heavy or negative emotions, but his way of interpreting it was, oh, that must be something I've done, and I've done something wrong, or I'm the cause of somebody else's distress. He didn't know how to interpret personal communication or social situations very well. And he had enough awareness, because he's very, very on the high end of the functionality. He had enough awareness to know something's off, but not enough education or understanding or awareness to be able to speak to what he was experiencing in a way to help somebody else understand. And as a mother, I did not know. I knew that he could understand other people's emotions, right? He was like this little emotional empathic sponge. And I didn't ever think to ask him, do you have a hard time understanding people or feel like you don't really know what to do in a social situation? Because he's brilliant, as most of these kids are. And I'm so grateful for some doctors who noticed some certain things and sensory issues, and thought to ask him that question, because he was able to speak to it finally. And so now everything that we're doing gets to be filtered through that, so that he can have the understanding he needs. And what that's doing is what Amare is all about. It's actually given him the gift of self-acceptance, because he can finally say, oh, there's not something wrong with me. This is the framework that I have to live in. And now I can partner to find the right resources. And that doesn't make it easy. We're in the middle of sorting stuff out still and finding solutions. But I feel like throughout that, we've been able to have hope. And we're on the same team, which means we work together. And that can be tricky, especially as your children get into adult years. But they still need help to navigate it. And so having that feeling of being on the same team is vital. And I'm grateful for the Amare, because I feel like that mood component
is helpful.
It's really helpful
for everybody in the family. And one of the nice things I think about Amare is that there's no contraindications of any medications that you might be taking, right?
Oh, absolutely right. And it's been a beautiful thing. So we did take I took all of the technical data sheets. I love that Amare gives so much information there. And we were able to take all of those to his psychiatrist, and who's also a medical doctor, of course. And she was able to look at those and said, "Oh, these are all great. Yes, absolutely, take them." So we work with our professionals, as so many of us, do, in doing that, and it works great.
So I always feel that as a mother, we can only do as well as our least happy child. And you've had two that have had some challenges. So obviously this has had an impact probably on you. How are you weathering this?
Fantastically well. In the last 6 months, I had a pretty big realization. I said, in the last 6 months, I faced death with 4 of my family members. We had 2 cars totaled. 3 of my kids, were in the cars at the time. My husband had a stroke, and he's 47, so he's young, not what you expect. And when he got to the hospital, they said, well, yay, it's not a tumor. It does look like a stroke, which was a real thing on the table at the time. And they said, but it does look like a stroke. And here's that you're in this beautiful short time window, 3 hours, and you can have this medication, and it will either help you or it will kill you, literally. And everybody that we've talked to, we have several friends who are doctors and nurses, and they've said, we've seen it do both.
Oh my gosh.
And so,
did you take the medication?
We took the medication, and he's doing well. Okay. So we had the best possible outcome, but that's stressful. And there's still a recovery period. And then of course the situation with my son and the mental illness, and it's real. And I love my life. That's what I feel like the Amare has done for me, is that through all of that, I feel like that resiliency, and we have days. I have days when we're first figuring out and sorting through and finding out some things about what my son experiences, where I've gone to the car, because that was the place where I could talk freely and openly, and called a friend and cried for a couple of hours as I was processing that. But what I did have was mood. It would take a lot of mood, and sometimes even the mood sleep combo, because that can help with heightened anxiety, and the fundamentals, and that resiliency has allowed us to have moments where we're crying, but in that same day, right, we have moments of extreme joy and happiness, and where we're just in the present moment, not worried about things, knowing that everything will work out. And it gives us the confidence to find solutions and not be curled up in a ball crying for weeks on end in our bedroom. And that confidence that it's given to me, my children watch that. And so it helps them.
Yes.
So now they don't. It. Yeah.
Their
so
anchor.
Like,
you're their anchor, and you need to be strong.
Right. But they can say, oh, it's okay. I can have emotions and still be okay. And my mom's not worried. She knows everything's going to be okay. So maybe I can hope that too. And that makes all the difference in the world as a mom, to be able to give that to your kids. Yeah. And I couldn't have done that before. Yeah. I did not have great emotional resiliency before. And I did have, we all have trauma in our lives that, you know, we recover from. And we didn't have to grow up with a lot of tools. And so how amazing is it now to say, ooh, okay, here I'm going to do tapping, or I'm going to do box breathing, right? We have a bottle of mood in our car. Actually, each of our cars. And we have been known to pull it out and have everybody hold out their hands and dump some in the hand, and everybody takes it, because sometimes, you know, what goes around a family starts spreading. Yeah. And we're like, everybody put it in here, and we're all going to, you know.
Mental health is contagious, yeah.
Good mental health can be contagious. Yeah. So, for me, it's made all the difference in the world. I sleep at night. I think some of the things that we've experienced in the past 6 months, I should be, you know, I think, I don't know that I would have slept before. Yeah. I think I probably would have been up just that mind cycling through all of the worry. Right. And I find that I don't have that. Yeah. So for me, the difference has been profound. For my husband, coming through the stroke, both physically and mentally and emotionally, that was a toll, and it took quite a bit of time to get through. But he was like a miracle story, and I really feel like that gut-brain access prepared him to have the best possible outcome. Because we would have medical person after personnel walk into his room, and they'd say, wait a minute, what? Why are you here? And they were so shocked and so surprised at how well he was doing. And then afterwards, as he continued to improve. So absolutely, I think.
Well, it's a good thing that Amari just came out with a new heart product.
We have been doing little celebration dances at our house. So yeah, we're definitely going to be on that one. And looking forward to those results. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, you know, I just think you're a very brave woman and a champion, you know, for your family and for many other families. And I thank you for being so authentic and real. I'm sure you really encouraged a lot of people with your stories today. Yeah, I know that you're not through your journey yet, but I have great faith that you're going to have a great ending to this story. So, yeah.
I think Amari's helped us to feel like we're already in the great ending.
Yeah.
And we still have miles to go. But to have happiness in the middle of that, of the whirlwind and the storms and whatever rain comes your way, has been priceless.
Beautiful way to end this interview. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And malama pono until next time. Take care. Aloha.